Good morning, all of you,
Good
and good
morning.
evening for the other side of the globe. Okay, now my canvas is here to greet you. I am, yes, just look at my palette. I was going to add colors to the palette, cadmium, yellow, and you see that the dropping liquid. I'll talk about that too. And alizarin, I have ultramarine blue so far. I had the colors from last week, but I thought I should take out the fresh ones. And if you have any questions for the red, I am going to. I'm taking out some of my cadmium red. Oh, you know what? Oh, yeah, she will join me. Okay. And white, of course. White. We don't have to use too many colors. Um, that's cobalt. So cobalt and ultramarine blue, and I might take out my emotional support, which is the other ugly blue Russian or potato, whichever I get hold of. I usually use titanium white, but the only thing about that's the best color, best white that I like. But I tell you, the only thing with titanium white is that it dries slow. Sometimes it takes like 3 4 days for a smaller painting to dry because of the titanium. Um, Zinc white is comparatively quicker drying. And then there are other whites too, softening white, and other fancy brands have their own warm white. Yeah, titanium is quick, bright, and fresh. And you can make your own warm whites by adding. It is the same photo. Yeah,
Yes.
yes, I removed the figure on the right,
Okay.
and when you see such, when you take photos, there are, you know, if they are not standing there for you, so you will have other people from the crowd, which may help your composition and they may not help your composition. So feel free to omit them. And this figure that I removed in the other photo, that figure could be used if you are planning to have a I mean, it's not, she's not disturbing the composition, and you can handle the tones and make it more subdued if you want, or you can add another figure or a couple of figures with that one and have a little story going on there. So since I'm only going to focus on the bartender, the or the cleaning area, or that figure that's clearing the tables, I I'm not going to add that figure.
I think I went for the bartender as well because I liked that by removing the figure there was equal amount of darks and lights in the composition. So
Yeah.
at both pictures, I thought I'd stick with the one with one figure. But yes, obviously we can always add um, a figure around if you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, the tones or the values, they do help a lot in composing your design.
Yeah.
So here in this one, oh, here's larger, which distracts me when putting it down. And I am going to keep the glow of her glasses that she's holding. And then the chunk of or darker value, I'm going to take it, block it down. So when I speak of the design or the shapes, it's we divide our values, just reduce your, squint your eye and reduce, see your photo or your landscape, if you're outdoor, whatever you want to paint, try to see it in 4 or 5 tones or values. So I'm going to mark my dark ones here. Right? So here we notice that the figure is blending with our darks, and only some highlight on her right side is popping it out of the background, right? And that highlight is echoed in some of our details. Beautiful um, pattern of the chairs will add little more to the design. Oh, I don't have. See, my comfort paint impression was not out. Now I just squeezed out my impression. And I'm going to mark my darkest dark. I used to use a larger number of brushes. There is no rule. You can use whatever you are comfortable with. And when I started painting smaller scale, I in the beginning I could not paint small. Mm, the- I never did paint small because of it can be part of our training that in our academic years we were supposed to paint larger canvases. So when I moved to America and I looked at most of the exhibitions which had size limit in inches, oh, it was a nightmare. And I started using smaller canvas and I couldn't paint. And then I switched to smaller size brush. Okay, now that became my habit even when I'm painting big. Oh, no, there is this one. There's that. So we have darker tones in the background and in the foreground as well. We can keep that separation with choosing the temperature of our paints. We can find warmer blues and we can find warmer reds and cooler reds and cooler yellows. So warmer blues. Now, some people, some artists find ultramarine to be cooler blue. So it's the way you mix the other colors that you mix with it. I find cobalt blue to be cooler. And then for the cooler reds, alizarin is mostly used. And then for cooler yellow, it's lemon yellow, and yellow ochre is kind of neutral. Mm, okay. If you follow the tones and follow the shapes, not necessarily the objects, you're actually getting your painting done quicker. So starting from the background, I'm going to mix some colors for the background. I like to mix my grays, cooler grays, and mix a puddle of cooler grays, which yellow ochre, some cobalt, and alizarin crimson.
Did you want to be recording?
Yeah, Rizana, are you recording, right?
Okay, I just was making sure.
Yeah, and good that you asked because it's a good reminder too. My memory is not reliable and I'm not too organized, so good to ask. And thanks for asking too. Okay, so now I have some uh, cooler neutral darks for my background, which will come here. So squint and you'll see the value. It's not too dark. I'm going to add more white. See, still it is quite dark. We tend to add more pigment and less value, well, less white. It turn out a bit more than actual. Well, we are not actually copying the actual, but the point here is to give the depth. This is your background. Background to that chair, lovely one. And we will be. Okay, I'm going to move my window out since I'm not adding that figure. So let's take it further. As I'm coming toward the interior of the restaurant, I'm adding more and cadmium yellow, giving a warmer tint. Like colors to echo here, the same one. To keep the rhythm going. Okay, so here we are. Now, as I come closer to my figure, I am being careful. Like watercolor, I like to keep the white canvas bare for my lightest tones. I like to show this line of tiles. They are helping with the composition, leading our eye toward the main figure. Also, adding some color to our painting. I am going to make use of this beautiful pattern of checkered pattern of the chairs. We'll talk about this later. And this one too. There is more light added to the floor here near the entrance. So rest of the floor when I do the light. And the chair goes up. And I'm going to repeat the same color here on the chair. Even if it is not there, even if you don't see the color, I oftentimes I doubt if I do see the colors, or if it is my habit. I have developed this habit of seeing color, or can I actually see it? But that's not important. Whether you can always make your own colors, add a little excitement to your painting by introducing some colors which are not even there. I always say colors are for entertainment. As long as it keeps the viewer excited. We don't want to like overdose our colors. Oil paintings do spoil us. We can take away, take out, and it's not like watercolor. When you miss your light, you can't do anything. The glass and its reflection on the table. Up, up. Okay. That's the reflection of this one, and that's this one. And we do have these two. This can go a little here. Okay. More dark. I'm going to, even if it is not there, well, it is there too, but a bit of dark around the glass to enhance the glowing white or transparency of the glass. A few objects on the table. You can add reflection if you want, although it is not there. Maybe it is there. I'm not even looking at it. Yeah, no, it is not there. Pretty much we got the design element here. This can go up to here. And outside, we cannot leave this white like this. So we may invent or add any kind of detail which is just indicating the exterior. And I'll get to that later. When painting figure, keep the gesture. You don't have to give the detail, just the gesture, which comes with proportions and angle. So her head is more slanting. So my strokes are also slanting along with the direction of head. You know, it's more important to be mindful of these details when you are not giving any features. You're not painting features, but it's more of a looser style. Use less strokes, but they're very calculated and as accurate as you can go. I'm going to give the dark, really dark line here because that separates the figure from the background. Okay, and maybe more dark to give a nice shape to her arm. And then, although her hand is covered with the menu card, but I'm going to put one finger on this glass, maybe. Yeah. Her hand would be the suggestion. And the button here, although it is very loosely done, avoid using too much texture. When I put my color here and I touch it, there is now it is not forming that texture, but this kind of texture. It's better to straighten it and make it more flat. And that way the color is and the tones are emphasized more. Texture does look good in paintings, but that should be dealt with. You should deal with the texture the same way as your tones and your color. If you have the same kind of texture throughout your painting, it becomes really boring and annoying. So compose your textures to uh, some more thicker impasto and more strokes versus flatter areas. Okay. Well, you can take off with a palette knife too, but it's kind of noisy to do that. I'm using my silicone spatula, which you can use baking spatula as well. Okay. This doesn't need to be too defined, but the highlight of the chairs are going to add some interesting detail. So we get our warmers coming to, bless you, coming to more cooler. More blue, added more blue to my puddle, whatever colors they were. They were glycerin crimson, a bit of yellow, all the colors that I already named. I have added some blue to it and made a kind of greenish tone here, which will maybe move with this chair a little here. I'm filling more my right area. Bit of the artwork here and a little bit of the artwork here. Again, no need to go into detail for these paintings. Just a little indication. Okay, I'm going to give more features to this face. When we are uh, putting highlight on the face, if you look at the head, it's kind of round. So you cannot have the same value of light on the forehead as the chin. If light is coming from the above, then the forehead would get more light than the chin, and the reverse. And we can Mhm. Okay, at this point, I can add some color to, you can make the t-shirt, give the neutral warm color or earth color to the t-shirt, or you may have the blue. I'm going to emphasize the blue of her t-shirt because the painting is kind of monochromatic. I want to add more color to it. Uh, Not ultramarine blue, it is going to jump off the plane. Plane, the surface of the canvas. Let's check. This is not only ultramarine, but I added some Prussian blue in it. It's still quite bright. Try to keep the strokes along with the her body angle. That's too. That's jumping a lot. So I'm going to add a bit from the light of the background area and added that warm light. Following the direction of light. I think that's about all. I'll get to the darks later. Oops. We need to work on the detail near the figure. This pattern of the chair. And when I come to this chair, I will change my colors. I have not been, I didn't use burnt sienna, but I'm going to take out some of the burnt sienna. I may use it, I don't know. Let's see. To give more warmer darks, I am adding burnt sienna to my Prussian blue and some cadmium red. Okay. Her feet. I've given some additional length to her legs. Okay. I'll add more dark to this area later on. Let's follow the flow of the darks here. Maybe a little detail. Okay. Now coming to the chair on the right. Maybe a clip behind that one too. Okay. I hardly used solvent for all this because I had freshly squeezed out the paints and the consistency of the paint was good enough to use. So you don't really need to use any kind of medium. It all it is all your comfort zone. If you want to do whatever feels um, helps you. You know, I am using Vince Newton, the one that is also available in Pakistan, the same ones. Oh, you know, I am using the same stuff that you get from there. And the reason I use the most common one is so that, I mean, you don't get confused. I use a paint which is available in all the countries. When that happens, which is not unusual, then use solvent. Or if you are, I mean, if you are comfortable with linseed or mediums. Yeah, but you know, but when it dries, it's not. Does it look bad? I know some most artists. I see most of his, artists they use they varnish their painting, and that's even more shiny. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, that's the reason I don't use mediums. But you know, people like the shiny stuff. Someone suggested that I should do that. Maybe my paintings are too dull. Well, that was well, those are the paintings I did in 80s or 90s in Pakistan. They have become dull because of the bad material, and I had painted on the used hardboards. So it was bad too. The surface was bad as well. Okay, now more. Let me get a finer brush and get details to my glass. When using light, especially white, um, don't put pressure on your brush. Which is actually hard. Easier said. Okay. So squint and I see more tones in the glass. But it's mostly the same color you see around the glass. Whenever you're painting something transparent, repeat the colors that are around that object, inside that object. So always remember to squint.
Predominantly a still life painter, so I would love it if you did that.
Oh, I love still lifes. Ah, yes, we'll do that.
I love that as well.
I don't know why I'm Jack and I Jack all mediums and all subjects. Some artists, they prefer my still lives the best. But you know, I'm so fascinated with figures. I'm so fascinated with streets, and I don't know. I think I'm happy Jack. I don't want to be master of anything. It's fun to be Jack. Little glow here. And let's see if it is aligned. The reflections it is aligned there. I have yet to build a nice stand for my camera. It's a little challenging to paint from the side. It's hard to get straight lines when you are drawn from odd angle. Okay, now coming to this. Actually, I was working on this. So, well, that's also a sign of old age. I keep forgetting where I was actually working. So it was this chair. But don't worry, I'm not going to leave out anything because we have to finish the painting and it will shout at me if I leave. I'm going to move my chair even further to the right. Oh yeah. Oh, okay. That's it. Now the beautiful wood here and the legs here. All connecting. We'll get to this, the seat of the chair later, which I see beautiful light here. I cannot cook without a silicone. I cannot paint without a silicone. Haha. Yes, it is. In both cases. My only worry is that, you know, I may use the same spatula in my cooking. Because both of the things are, most of the time, both of the things are done simultaneously. I can still smell something in the kitchen. One time I was painting a portrait of a client and also cooking, and someone I think there was some guest, and he said, "Oh, I can hear the painting burning." So it was what was I cooking? The ground meat that was burning. Okay, bit of the yellow in here, I think. No, I take it back. I'm not going to do yellow here. See, I'm spoiled. The spatula, okay? No, I'm not going to go with that. I'm going to go with cooler, but that's too much color. Add more white and maybe a little bit of yellow ochre. Spend time in mixing. That's also one thing that I have learned with time, that I never really paid attention to what I'm mixing and just mixing a palette and putting it on. But you do need to make sure when you're mixing on a palette, use your knife and spend some time on palette mixing, making the color, make sure that's the right value, right temperature, and then you put here. Otherwise, the painting becomes too muddy if that's your playground. Go a little prepared on your canvas. Okay. The reason I wanted to have a bit dark here was to emphasize the table, which is right now quite a hodgepodge kind of thing. Now I'm going to mix colors for my table and I will try to make the table flat, neat, and, you know, uh, emphasize more clear shape. Maybe a little warmer. So you cannot really plan ahead. You cannot you well when talk about planning, we do we do know what we are going to paint and we have some idea of our color selection, but we cannot plan it completely. As you paint, the painting leads you, and there are moments when you decide to change the color or the tone according to how it is developing. So more dark. Okay. Now when it comes to the floor, which is reddish, then we can separate the table and the background. Can you all see clearly? And I hope the light is not shining on it. Okay. Okay. I'm going to use the same blues. Um, oh, when mixing colors, always clean your knife ahead. I was going to mix colors, but my knife already had red on it, and I didn't clean it completely. So the mix is purple, which I'm going to save for later, and I'm going to mix some new puddle of here for the light. I'm going to add a bit from her t-shirt, the colors that I had mixed with little ultramarine and a tiny hint of Persian. I'm going to repeat that color here. Okay, now time for brush. Okay, look at my hand. I have all the brushes and I keep forgetting which one to use. So I take a new one. And I promise myself to be more careful in future, more organized. But it has been 30 years. I haven't improved. I still hold my brushes in my hand. Still regret doing it. So I'm going to give a little blend of the the warm floor with lighter light, which can be a little challenging. I hope I don't make a fool out of myself, but keep your strokes loose and but be very calculated and very careful because as you are painting the floor, you're also defining legs or giving some detail here. So the light on the chair will repeat the same colors. And the light on the floor. So this light is, continued and is connecting with the group here. Going to lead the eye in this group inside that interior. So we will have some repeating, some sparkling blues. Most of the time when I'm painting, my eyes are half closed, so I'm squinting all the time. It helps me see the tones. Then we can have some little bit of blue here also. So when you're composing, it's not just composition of lines and form, it is also color and tone. Whatever it may be in your reference, but on your painting, you don't even have to look at your photograph anymore. Just follow your composition and continue with your plan, initial plan. Hmm. So although this is our main figure, and when you have a figure in your painting, the view that catches the most attention, and we will be looking at the figure. But the important role here is played by that chair that makes the the light and the different temperature. Yeah, it's also done. I might add a little tiny bit. Usually I have orange on my palette. I don't have it today. Missing my orange, but mixing my yellows and my reds. Yep. Okay, here. Maybe a little bit of warm light underneath her chin. Just a bit indication. That's a lot. Hey, did I ruin it? A bit of indication for feet. Way too much. And like just where the shoe starts, maybe more red. So you see, this goes here. Get rid of the whites here. We may add some frame here. Hey, my line. Again, it's so hard to get straight when you're painting on this side. Let's get rid of this line. Is it straight? It is straight. I think so. I just make sure your lines are straight, not crooked like mine. Okay. Now working on my I don't know how we are going on time. Okay, it's 10:16. It would be a good idea to repeat the pattern here. And some here. The chairs are not too defined, just little indication of their pattern. And then look from a distance. Get this one. Look from a distance, and you see more details to be added that can be done. Like I'm debating whether to put this line here or not. Maybe I will. And then if I put this one here, then I'm going to work on the line here and subdue this line. Oh, so when you repeat the shapes or the lines, check their intensity, give some variety, maybe to the colors or maybe to their value. Okay, so this area is pretty much done. Just the outside. Let's go out. Let's go out and play. All in mostly lighter tones, mostly white, mixed with colors from the puddle that I have. Indication of the vegetation. I mean, yeah, repeat the same. Blue in much lighter, mix white to the blue puddle, and so why I put blue here and not in the top when the sky is on the top. I am not even thinking of the sky. I have more blue in the middle somewhere here. So it now these are quite abstract shapes and they don't even make that sense. Just follow the flow. If you have little darker in the background, then make sure it has its own flow or the connection. Avoid haphazard. It may seem very spontaneous and unplanned, but you should um, keep the design in mind all the time. Oh. Not too much crisscross, but some combination of vertical and horizontal strokes. I will have more. Actually, let me take out. I ran out of red. I may or may not need it, but it has to be on your palette. All the colors that you started with should be there till the end. Sometimes we just become lazy and not use it, but there might be a need for it. I'm not going to draw the line. I mean, I might, but instead of drawing the lines for the tile, I may just top my reds here and kind of align them. I hope I'm not crooked. I'm painting from the side, so it's a beautiful red, but I think I should get rid of it. Wanted to keep it, but no. Sometimes you have to do some such sacrifices. I was retaining this red because it was a nice one, but it was very out of place. Yeah. So that's the same line that's coming from here. Trying to make sense. Should all be connecting. Yep. That's it. From here, yeah, I can like to continue this dark of the chair leg. It's correcting the anatomy of chair. Okay, pretty much done. Don't mind adding. This red might not be there, but never mind. Just adding, adding for fun of it, and it's not even hurting anything. If this chair, if this leg is here, then there should be another leg here, which can be that one. Okay, that's that chair. Extend this yellow light. Just a tiny bit here. And repeat that. This yellow here. Oh, that's done. Just getting rid of too rigid, the rigidity of the lines. Blend some of the edges. And if you feel that it's too much blending going on, you can always put in fresh, dark line here, wherever it is needed. That's about all. There are some ambiguous kind of areas here which can be left as they are, or you can define them, but you know, it doesn't have to make sense. The main group was this girl and the chairs, which was more in focus. Can put a tiny bit of highlight on her hair. Okay, just one dot. Yeah, I think one dot is enough. we may play. It's best to look at your painting the next day. Then you will know if you need to add something or not. To me, it is done. Or else I will overwork. You may unmute or comment or ask. Nothing?
Well, I think it's pretty fabulous. But I'm pretty overwhelmed.
Oh,
You're
I
fabulous.
well, this time I picked a very ordinary photograph. It didn't have any dramatic light or So the point was that we can paint even from, random photo. Um, the only thing is to pick one element that, catches your eye, or you feel you can develop. So in this one, I felt that, I can make a little flow of the light reflecting, continuing through the leather seat and then on the glass and on her. So I did get that circular kind of flow for the viewer eye. And now that I can add one more light. I was mentioning the abstract shapes here.
And why did you decide not to put in the grid on the blue part of the floor? In order to make it not look as if there was a stream running in,
The grid on the floor?
Yeah. I mean, with the grid, it indicates floor, whereas right now.
Yeah, well, okay. If it's the grid will not take away. Okay, we can add it. I was just
I'm just asking you why you didn't.
I was making it more simple.
Okay.
We can add, and if you think it is not making much sense, I can still do it.
Well, I don't know whether it is or isn't.
It should make sense, and if it is not, that means that there is something missing.
Yeah.
So yes, I can always add, but I'm only going to indicate.
I would think you'd have to be careful with that grid so it doesn't take your eye to figure out what's going at the end of the grid, out the door.
Yeah, just indicate it, not too much.
Yeah, not too severe.
Yeah, it's only...
See how your eye now wants to go there?
Yeah, but as...
Yeah, that's good. What that? Just a couple of little X's where the corners are, but not necessarily a line.
And
maybe.
Also never say never. If, I didn't plan to add the grid, but, if it something felt missing, then I had to. So, as I said, you don't plan things, but the painting actually speaks for whatever is needed. And thank you for, noticing and indicating. As I said, that it's the next day that you come to see things. Oh, and also I would like to get rid of this light because it's not straight. That was a nice stroke, but not in the right direction. So I took it off. So here's the indication of the styles, which if I've done that, then I'm may want to have. Oh, I just
I think that was a perfect way to add the grid. Boy, that looks great.
Right. Okay. Then if I did that, I need to add some indication in here too. Just, oh, maybe take this one away. Nothing. Well, when you do grid, you have to be really careful. Have the same angle, the perspective. Maybe I don't like the way the ankle turned up, so
I know, I worked on those legs like, oh my gosh. I made them light, I made them dark, I made them long.
Yeah, well, when you get those logs kind of
The way her body is interrupted, and it feels like her legs are really short because of the
yeah,
teeth.
they are. Yeah.
It's
And even here I tried to give more height to her and make the head smaller, but that's why you should not be looking at your reference photo that much. I always end up painting her exactly the same as she is, with a little larger head than the body.
well, she is kind of that way.
Yeah.
But my other one, the watercolor one, the person looks about 6 feet tall.
Oh, okay.
The other, oh gosh.
You can always, oh, I don't know. Sometimes you
I
can.
think stop and go to the next painting.
Yeah. So,
well,
all these little
really
kind of
amazing. It's amazing to watch you talk to yourself as you go. That's the part I most enjoy.
Oh.
The analysis that you go through is